RageRooster is a workshop game created by game design students at UCF. While no description was provided, it is best described as a 3D platformer with some light combat elements. Being a student workshop game, it is understandable that titles like this would be in an alpha state, as students have one semester to work on their games. We encountered a fair few game-breaking bugs in this title that either prevented players from progressing or required a full restart of the game itself. During our testing, bugs and glitches ranged from small visual issues like floating objects and physics breaking, to problems with menus and player clipping through terrain that required the player to force quit and restart the game entirely. The first bug players can encounter involves the menu not having exit buttons for some of its submenus. Thus, when the player opens one of these submenus, they must force quit the game and reload it to reach the main menu again. Collision is a very consistent issue across this entire game. There are many areas where the player can clip themselves into places where results vary from immersion breaking to full-on softlock. The developers have provided a respawn button for ease of use, but areas in which this bug occurs are very frequent. Additionally, in some areas upon respawning, some of the walls in the level become invisible to the player, increasing the amount of collision issues, creating a feedback loop of bugs, and hindering gameplay beyond this point. Players can not only get themselves stuck under the terrain, but also in the geometry of environment pieces. In some areas, players can jump to get stuck in roofs in the level. A small visual bug involves the mouse being visible during gameplay. While this does not affect gameplay at all, it is still distracting to the player. Another visual bug can be seen upon respawning. Many of the parts of the player model can be affected by physics. When the player respawns, these parts can stretch far beyond what is intended, creating a bit of a distracting visual. Environment pieces across the map can also be seen floating above terrain in some areas. Overall, this game has a lot of potential to be a fun platformer. The visual style of the game is a pleasing one, and the silly nature of the game is evident in the style and artwork. In its current state, gameplay is a little unstable and frustrating with all of the ways that players can get stuck, visual bugs, and lack of functions required for the game to run smoothly.